the tagline really being that let's go big, let's be ambitious, and policy and digital technology solutions can play a significant role in that respect. Over. Thank you.
Touch briefly on another trend that I've been writing about this recently, which is about conscious consumerism. We kind of touched on it right at the beginning as well. You know, innovation is being driven from new sources. Consumers are far more aware than ever before, and they're asking the right questions. Data literacy has gone up. You know, I think all the briefings we've had about driven by the data, etc. It's kind of imbued everything now. How are you finding that in terms of responding to consumers and their wants and needs to demonstrate sustainability?
So sustainability starts with me and you. So we are the ones where we initiate. So there's been a lot of decibels now from consumers, and the companies are now putting the dollars in, right? Because they're listening to the consumer. And it is quite clear that data is going to be at the heart of helping all organizations make progress on their net zero goals, Sally. And you've said this also in our conversations earlier. Until we have clear data around the use of carbon, the degree of carbon richness in our value chains, the ability that we must understand the impact where we are having on reducing that carbon, it's very hard for any consumer or organization to know whether they are making progress. And unless we show that transparency to the end consumers, the companies will not know where to focus its efforts on, or on how to judge whether they're really making impact to that 1.5 degree goal. So if you remember back in the days when we had the animal testing, and a lot of people said, I don't want to use this product because it's tested on animal. It was simple. You test it on animal or you don't test it on animal. Today, a lot of greenwashing, unless we clearly show demonstrable measurement, leveraging authenticated, democratized data to our consumers that we are clearly meeting our SDG and ESG goals. We're clearly creating operational and business impact to meet the 1.5 degrees Celsius. I think consumers are really going to reject products, because we carried out a survey and study, and pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, there's been a huge rise in the way consumers look at it and say, is this company greenwashing, or are they truly investing and making true to their promise on sustainability? And they would actually not buy the products. Just a small thing personally, my daughters, I've got two girls, and they stopped using plastic straws like when it was 6 or 7 years ago, when I didn't even understand that as a concept. I mean, obviously I had to follow suit very quickly, but they carry steel straws, you know, everywhere they go, and they're steel bottles, right? So if they go into a restaurant, you know, like, and that's what I'm saying. It starts with you. You don't need any data to measure that, right? I mean, I had to move into a hybrid car, and, you know, so these are some things you lead by example. So you need to start with yourself.
I love that. I love that. And you couldn't have a more positive contagion of change than that, could you? I think you're absolutely spot on. I love it. Brilliant. Really brings it to life. And a kind of another echo of all of this as well is, you know, the coming together. We've seen great examples of this, you know, across the pandemic. Things like the HPC consortium, for example, off the top of my head, is a great example of organizations of different shapes and sizes, different sectors with that common goal. And I'd love to see if we could do that similar model, you know, around sustainability. And I know you speak a lot about the power of partnership. We've talked about that before around UN SDG 17, for example.
Right.
How are you seeing that in terms of, you know, better utilizing cross-sectoral partnerships to accelerate the net zero transition?
I think you've said it better. I couldn't have framed it. SDG 17 to me is at the core of anything, right? I think I'm a strong advocate of SDG 17 partnership. Sustainability is a global challenge, like the pandemic. I mean, if you look at what did mankind do to bring together accelerated vaccine, right from innovation to execution. The only way, I mean, companies in Germany and you know, Pfizer, right? I mean, they came across the pond, right, to collaborate and find a solution. And that's what we really need for achieving our net zero goals, right? Organizations have to think we as collective society rather than me. We see a lot of these silos, but I think organizations such as WBCSD are bringing this together. So we are the design and development partner for projects in WBCSD. And one of the projects which we are doing is actually helping find across the value chain. So if there's a bottle of detergent which you're buying, across the upstream value chain, which are the companies involved? So whether it's Exxon, Dow, Solvay, what is it, the content of carbon across and at each point in the value chain, and how you're helping reduce that. So first is you capture, measure, benchmark, and then report, right? So SDG 17 helps you bring all of these 4 elements together. Food trust, as I mentioned, responsible sourcing, circularity. It impacts about 9 SDG goals, right? 320 ecosystem members and partners, retailers, producers, packagers, distributions. If you want to today be a member or a supplier to one of the largest retailers in the US, you need to be part of Food Trust because they know they can trust that information and data. Bringing it down from 6 days to 2.2 seconds. 45 million transactions, therefore, have gone through this platform. You know, and if you look at, as I said, trade lens, you know, again, great example. So Fast Infra, WBCSD, Trade Lens, Food Trust, all of these are market platforms which connect the ecosystem of partners, share data in a democratized way, leveraging AI, blockchain, hybrid cloud, and deliver the journey to sustainability to the end consumer and bring in that trust and transparency.
That's superb. And it responds as well. I mean, like Edelman, for example, they do benchmarking around trust. I think it's about 17 years or so now. And
Right.
It's showing that there are these trust inequities and people are more aware, and there's variances about different types of organizations. And actually, most recently, it's showing that business leadership is now the most trusted institution across sectors. And I think partly it is because we're seeing this in heightened transparency, embedding it by design. The examples the year really brought that to life. That's superb.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sally. I really appreciate that feedback.
That's okay. And I'd love to just bring it back a little bit to your sessions at SIF as well. I wonder if you could just share maybe a couple of your personal highlights of what you were speaking about and what that might lead to for the future. I know we touched on a couple as well already, but I'd just like to kind of do a little roundup of your kind of key news from the event.
So as I said, my key news was when I was speaking at SIF, we actually launched a project with Mitsubishi Heavy Industries called Connex2. And if you know the clusters which are being created in the UK, but Mitsubishi, as you know, is one of the top companies in Japan. We are partnering with them. We are again the technology partners. We are building this platform where the capture technology which is there by Mitsubishi, we are then creating the platform to get the emitters and the buyers and the suppliers onto the same platform, again, to achieve net zero goals, right? So we spoke about that on a panel. Ken, the European CEO for Mitsubishi was with me. We then had another session with Resonant, which is again one of our partners, which was earlier called Save Our Planet, and now it's Resonant Technologies, on how, if you look at farming, which is one of the largest polluters for GHG, and a couple of other sessions. One of the things is about intelligent and smart cities. So if you look at 70% of the GHG emissions is by cities, but only 2% of the world land mass is occupied by cities. So you can see the disconnect. So how are we working with, as I said, as one of the cities in Europe, and working with the energy partners to reduce the GHG, because that's going to really impact. So we have taken an approach where we are partnering with core anchor clients like HSBC, like Resonant, like Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, like Maersk, and creating these market platforms to solve the problem of GHG, reducing the emissions, and the journey to sustainability.
That was wonderful. I could speak to you all afternoon. It's just such synergies around topic areas. So that's fantastic, Sanjay. Thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed speaking to you.